This is John T for the Boxing Voice. I'm joined this evening by welterweight prospect from Britain, Saj Abid. How are you, Saj?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for joining us. You're in the car. I think you've just finished training. Is that right?
Yes, I am pretty much outside my gym right now. I figured the best thing I could do is just jump on as soon as I get in my car instead of having to rush right home.
Yeah, fair play. How'd training go?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's good getting back into the flow of things. I had COVID a couple of weeks ago, so that was a pretty bad. But now it's good. I'm back in action training wise. Obviously, don't know about a fight yet, but I'm just glad to be back in the gym.
Did it knock you for six, the virus, or?
Oh, mate, that was horrible, honestly, because I'm asthmatic as well, so it really just messed around with my asthma. So I was struggling to breathe whilst I was trying to get out of bed. But it's one of those things where I can't stress enough to people to take as much precaution possible when it comes to this. It isn't a joke.
Oh, fair play. Well, look, I'm pleased you made a full recovery. I weren't aware of that. And also the asthma. I'm not sure whether I've interviewed anyone before who's a boxer who's got asthma, an asthmatic boxer. How that must hamper you, surely, no?
The thing is, how can I put it? It was bad to begin with, but because of boxing, I managed to control it really well. And to be fair, that's how I got into boxing when I was younger. My stamina was horrendous. I couldn't run like 10 yards without having to reach my asthma pipe. But then my uncle took me into boxing, and since then I've just seen amazing results. Like being able to get fitter and control my asthma allowed me to actually excel in other sports, not just boxing. So it was good.
Your uncle you talk about there, is that Asgarter?
Yeah, Asgi.
Yeah, is he your blood uncle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, again, he's a good friend of the show. It must be great to have him as a support. You know, been in the corner of the likes of Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, currently Josh Taylor, some big names there and world champions. So that must help you.
Yeah, 100%. His advice is invaluable. You know, he'd help where he can, and to be fair, he's done a good job for my career.
Yeah, I bet. Right, so look, you were on with us a while back. At the time, I think you were 7-0, which was great and motoring along. And then you were due to fly out to Jeddah and fight on a big Amir Khan undercard in Saudi Arabia. So how did that go?
Obviously, as you can imagine, considering the caliber of shows I was on up until that point, it was like a dream come true. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was younger, this is the kind of stuff I pictured becoming a professional boxer was like. So it was amazing. Obviously, got my break. Went to Saudi Arabia on the same show as Amir Khan, someone who I used to always watch when I was younger. So it was great. You know, it was against another prospect, undefeated. It had all the makings to be a good fight. Unfortunately, I didn't get the result, but I learned so much more from that. I've learned so much more from that fight that, if anything, I've come back with such a better mind frame.
Well, you have come back since and won a fight since, and you're now back up to, I think, 9-1. But what specifically do you think, and I don't want to dwell on the defeats, but it's interesting that you've said you learned so much from it, because any fighter I speak to tells me the same. After a defeat, they learn more in that than most of the others. What specifically did you learn? Was it you were unprepared? Did you overlook him? Was it just his style was awkward? Or
a lot of things. I've learned that I'm a lot better than I think I am. Bearing in mind, I lost, but I showed enough to myself to know that, you know what, all it takes for me to do is basically train my backside off, and then I will mix it up with anyone. So on that note, after losing, obviously it being my first defeat, it taught me a lot about myself in a sense where, am I the kind of person to just knock it over the head the moment I come across my first obstacle? Or do I come back and, make sure I never find myself in that position again by training hard? A lot of fighters, once they get their first loss, they kind of just drop off the radar. If anything, it gave me more of a fire in my belly to make sure that never happens again. So it's been good in that sense.
Excellent. Well, I interviewed your promoter last week, Steve Goodwin, and he speaks very highly of you, and he's got a big stable of fighters. He's got 30, 40 fighters there, and we had a chat about you. So tells me that he's expecting big things, which brings me on to, you did mention at the start of the interview, you've been training, you don't know about a fight yet. We mentioned that you fought on a big Jeddah card, but that was a little bit out of the norm at the moment. So usually you're fighting on the smaller hall circuit. And until maybe we know when events are back, I guess you're in that position at the moment where you don't know when a fight's going to be yet. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And with Steve, I trust his judgment 100%. Him and Kevin, I trust their judgment. So when they say be patient, you know, as a boxer, the best thing I can do is be patient and just carry on training. So I'm just waiting for the break.
Yeah, I know he's got the York Hall booked out for a few consecutive nights later on in the summer. So hopefully that once the vaccine's out there and things are a little bit more stable, we'll get some crowds back, because it's the small halls that are probably affected. I know the big fighters and the box office stars are probably feeling it as well, but they've had big fights and box office money before. For the fighters like yourself who are trying to start your way up, no income coming in, and there's quite tough. Do you have a job as well?
Yeah, I work in a surgery. So as you can imagine, considering everything that's going on, it's been incredibly hectic. But it's, I can't complain. It's keeping me running.
Excellent. And I guess I spoke to someone else last week around maybe the best thing to do at the moment is tick over and keep fit, just in case you get a call or a nod to be on some card over the coming months, especially with the virus, as we've seen on some of the cards at the back end of last year. They were all on, they're in a bubble, and then a fight kind of collapses because someone's got the virus. So being on standby and being ready is probably key, I imagine.
Now it's like the perfect opportunity for a lot of small ball boxers, because you look what's been happening recently. A lot of small ball boxers have been given a chance to fight on the bigger stages, and in fact they've been pulling off the upsets. So now's like the perfect opportunity for people to make sure they're ready, and when their time comes, to obviously take it with both hands.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Both Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren Queensberry, if you look at their cards, they've usually got 2 or 3 at the bottom end of the card that are not necessarily known that well. But now they've really come along and had 2 or 3 fights down in the lockdown and stuff. So great opportunity if you can get on those shows. Right, well, look, before we let you go, obviously you're in that glamour division that people talk about, the welterweight. So I'll talk about domestically first. What do you, so Conor Benn has been announced that he's going out, and Josh Kelly as well on matchroom cards in the coming weeks. They look like they're on a collision course, maybe to fight each other next, providing they both come through. Who do you think would win that?
See, I'm a really big fan of Josh Kelly's. I really like his style, and I just like the way he presents himself. So in that sense, I would go for Josh Kelly, in my honest opinion. But obviously, as I learned in Jeddah, all it takes is one punch in boxing, so you never know what will happen. But you mentioned welterweight. We're in fact trying to get down to lightweight, so that's going to be my goal for obviously the next time I return to the ring. We're going to try push for lightweight, because what happened is when I was in Jeddah, I realized how easy I made welterweight, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, okay. You're not supposed to kill yourself whilst making weight, but surely it's not supposed to be this easy either. So at that point, we've been thinking, we may step down in weight.
That's great. I mean, like you said, you're very grounded there. Don't do anything silly. I see some fighters, and it's great. Hindsight's a great thing, but some fighters who really drain themselves to make the weight, and then after they get beat, they're like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have done that." But you're right. As low as you can get with that advantage you could have, so that would give you a little bit of a weight advantage there. So that'd be interesting to see. What about so going back to Josh Kelly and Conor Benn? So Josh Kelly's style, he's probably got a little bit more, well, a lot more experience as an amateur and a bit more pedigree there. But do you think he's fought someone with the power and the come forwardness, if that's the right way of saying it, of Conor Benn?
See, when Kelly made his American debut, I can't remember who he fought, but it kind of looked like he was a pressure fighter, so it looked like it was giving Kelly some trouble.
Robinson? Yeah, I remember. I'm just trying to recall his name. Sorry, yeah.
It's in fact 2 years ago or something like that. I don't know, but I think whoever's been, how can I put it? The one who's been recently active, in my opinion, probably etch it.
Fair enough. Well, Conor Benn was out recently, wasn't he? And he's out again quickly. But look, styles make fights on that as well. As a come-forward fighter and a slick star, that would be a great fight. And just while we're at it, in terms of, A, you've been on an Amir Khan card. B, you probably looked up to him, like you said, and, you know, that's something you've aspired to be. There's a little bit of talk gathering, probably a few years late, but him and Kell Brook. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that fight should happen? Does it still have any relevance? And if so, who wins?
To be fair, like you said, it's happening a bit too late. These are two fighters that are completely out of their prime. But as I say, it's better later than never. So at least people get to see these two great fighters going at it. In my opinion, I think Khan's speed is going to be a real trouble for Kell Brook. So, you know, on that basis, I'm siding with Amir.
Cool. Yeah, again, another 50-50 fight, a bit like the Kelly and Ben one. And I'm with you on that. I was a fan of both Brook and Khan. Couldn't really split it. It is probably 5-6 years too late, but they're a similar age, right? So they're still, it should be a 50-50 fight. And it'll be, if it's their last fight and that gets it on it, I'd rather watch it than not at all, as you said. What about on the world scene, just at that weight? Spence or Crawford? Because they're two of the best pound for pounds. And it divides opinion on that.
You know what? I've always gone for Crawford. The way he just destroys fighters is brilliant. Thing is, I'm going to be honest. I've not been keeping an eye on Spence too much, so I can't make a judgment on that fight. It's a tricky one, but it's something that needs to happen soon. Like, honestly, that is one of the fights that we should look forward to.
Well, if you compare it to what we just talked about in Khan and Brook, they're both undefeated. They're both in their prime. They both appear almost unbeatable. But as they say, someone's O would have to go. That would be absolutely huge if that happens. Now, I mentioned that the welterweight division's probably the glamour division. Well, it certainly has been the last 10, 15 years with your Mayweathers and your Pacquiao's flying around. But I wasn't aware until you just told me that you're trying to go back down to lightweight. Now, while we're on that then, lightweight for me at the moment, probably along with the heavyweights because of Fury and Joshua, but lightweights, there are 4, 5, 6 of them that have all got an argument that they are the best. Most of them are undefeated as well. Who do you have best at lightweight and why?
So, just a quick one. Lopez fought Lomachenko at lightweight, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you got Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko's still there, Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney.
Okay. Me, I'm going to say Tank. Tank is an absolute monster. You know, if he's obviously, oh, mate, the guy hits like a truck, and he's just too skillful. The thing is, obviously, I think there's talks of Garcia versus Tank at the moment. In my opinion, I think that fight's way too early for Garcia to take. He's just going to get mauled by Tank. My favorite fighter was Lomachenko. Well, he still is. The way he fights is brilliant. So it was a bit of a shock when Lopez beat him. But these fighters are getting old, so it's only right that the younger breed are coming up to obviously take what's theirs. So if you come to think about it, it wasn't that much of a surprise.
Do you not think, though, that maybe Lomachenko, there was noises that maybe he was injured after the fight? Again, it's great to hear about it after. He did wake up in the second half of the fight and it was really competitive. I wonder if you had a Lomachenko prime and fit, if he rematched Lopez, do you think it would go the same way? Do you think he'd lose or maybe avenge that?
I think he'd avenge it. Fighters like Lomachenko are just so intelligent where, you know, they would crack some kind of game plan to obviously get themselves back in a winning seat. But the thing is, how can I put it? With Lomachenko, you know, now that it's a difficult one for me, to be fair. Now that I think about it, rematch, I personally think Lomachenko would win. That's obviously if Lopez comes with the same game plan. It's boxing, man. It only takes one punch, isn't it?
I tell you what, though, for the first time, I'm a big boxing fan, clearly myself, and a bit of a historian into the last 10, 15, 20 years. I've sort of like watched everything. It feels like the first time since the Hagler, Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard and Duran days where there are 4 or 5 fighters that on any given night could beat each other. And I asked a question on the lightweight because whenever I speak to one, I get a different answer. Someone will tell me Davis, someone will tell me Haney, someone will tell me Garcia, Lopez, even Lomachenko. There's still people that say, well, just because he lost that one, he'd probably beat them all again if he was in his prime. So I hope that the promotional stuff doesn't get in the way. You know what it's like nowadays is a bit different, that it's hard to get those fights matched. And sometimes they do avoid it if they don't want it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's boxing, it's business at the end of the day. And, you know, whatever speaks money speaks volume.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, look, I've had a great chat with you. I've got to take the mickey before I go because I know what you're like. I've heard you like a kebab. So I hope you ain't going to get a kebab after training because you're in the middle of training camp, right?
You know what? I would absolutely get murdered if I go anywhere near a takeaway right now. In fact, my coach literally just gave me a bollocking about, you know, my diet. But my diet's fine now. We're going to go for lightweight. I've not touched a kebab for probably like a month now, officially. And yeah, we're good. We're good.
You know you're missing out. Go and get yourself a chicken cheese or something with no bread. You'll be fine. All right. Well, look, really good chatting to you, Saj, a good friend of the show. And we look forward to when you're back out and hopefully on those small shows, we'll be able to come and see you on the night and be front row and watch you get a win back. All right?
My friend. We'll catch you soon.
Best. Cheers, Saj. Thank you.
Yo, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and share. As always, if you want to support us to the next level, head over to the patreon.com/ThaBoxingVoice. We have tons of exclusive from Border Wars, from Title, betting shows, the list goes on and on and on. But in addition to that, if you guys have questions for fighters, trainers, and promoters, this is where you can submit them. We will run out, get these questions answered, and put it back on the show just for you guys. Appreciate it. Peace.